The shuttle touched down on the landing platform with a soft hum. Kang Do-yoon looked through the small window at the massive building in front of him. The Galactic Academy of United Species stretched across the horizon like a small city. Towers of glass and metal rose into the purple sky. Ships of all sizes flew overhead. Aliens of every shape walked along the pathways below. Do-yoon picked up his bag and walked toward the exit. He was 22 years old, average height, with short black hair and a calm face. Nothing about him looked special. He wore the simple gray uniform given to all new cadets. He looked like any other student arriving for their first day, but he was not like the others. He was human, and humans came from Earth. Earth was listed in galactic records as a Category 12 death world. This was the highest danger rating a planet could receive. Earth had crushing gravity compared to most worlds. It had extreme temperatures, violent storms, earthquakes, and floods. Its oceans were filled with predators. Its land was covered with creatures that had evolved to kill. Even the plants were dangerous. And somehow, humans had not only survived on this world. They had conquered it. The other species knew this. They had read the reports. They had seen the videos. Humans could run for hours without stopping. They could heal from wounds that would kill other species. They could survive in heat, cold, and conditions that seemed impossible. And they were predators. Their eyes faced forward. Their bodies were built to chase, to hunt, to kill. Do-yoon walked through the registration hall. He felt the stares. A group of Velisari students moved away from him as he passed. They were tall and thin, with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They whispered to each other in their soft language. He heard the word Deathworlder repeated several times. He did not react. He was used to this dot at the registration desk. A Karathi official processed his documents. The Karathi was short and round, with gray skin and 4 arms. This one looked at Do-yoon's file, and then looked up at him with obvious fear in his small eyes. "Human," the official said. "From Earth?" "Yes," Do-yoon replied. His voice was quiet and polite. "You are assigned to dormitory block 7, room 43. Your roommate is Torvin of Velis Prime." The official pushed the documents across the desk without getting too close. "Welcome to the academy." Do-yoon took the papers and walked away. He found his dormitory easily. The room was small but clean. 2 beds, 2 desks, 2 storage units. Simple and functional. His roommate was already there. Torvin was a Velisari, just like the students who had avoided Do-yoon earlier. He was sitting on his bed when Do-yoon entered. The moment he saw the human, his large eyes went wide. His thin body went stiff. "Hello," Do-yoon said. He put his bag on the empty bed. "I am Kang Do-yoon. You can call me Do-yoon." Torvin did not move for several seconds. Then he slowly nodded. "I am Torvin. I have read about your species." "Most have," Do-yoon said. He began to unpack his things. "You do not need to be afraid. I am here to study, just like you." Torvin watched him carefully. "Is it true that your planet has animals that hunt in groups? That they chase their prey until it collapses from exhaustion?" "Yes, humans used to hunt that way too, long ago." Torvin's skin turned a lighter shade of blue. This was a sign of fear in his species. "And your gravity. It is 3 times stronger than Velis Prime. About twice as strong as the Academy standard," Do-yoon confirmed. "I will feel a bit lighter here." The Velisari said nothing more. He simply watched as Do-yoon finished unpacking and lay down on his bed to rest. The next morning, Do-yoon attended his first classes. He found that he was not the only human at the academy. There were 2 others. He met them during the orientation assembly. Park. Yuna was a woman of 24 with long black hair tied back in a practical style. She had sharp eyes and a quick smile. She was training to be a pilot. Bae Yoonji was younger, only 20, with a round face and curious eyes. She was studying xenobiology. She wanted to understand how different species evolved on different worlds. The three humans sat together at the back of the assembly hall. Around them, hundreds of alien cadets filled the seats. Most kept a clear distance from the humans. They look at us like we are bombs that might explode, Yuna whispered. Can you blame them? Yoonji replied. I read that a human once accidentally broke a Velisari's arm just by shaking hands too hard. Dohyun said nothing. He was watching the front of the hall, where the senior cadets were seated. One group stood out from the rest. They were Hellori. The Hellori were beautiful by galactic standards. They were tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered in shades of gold and silver. Their faces were perfectly symmetrical. Their movements were elegant. They came from a paradise world with gentle weather and abundant resources. They had never known struggle. They had never needed to fight for survival, but they had built an empire. They had conquered dozens of worlds through technology and politics. They considered themselves the superior species in the galaxy. They looked down on everyone else, thought their leader among the cadets was obvious. He sat at the center of the group, and the others arranged themselves around him like servants around a king. He was young, perhaps the same age as Dohyun, with silver skin and cold golden eyes. He wore his uniform with decorations that showed his noble rank. Lord Keyleth, Yoonji whispered. Son of High Counselor Violet. His family has seats on the Galactic Council. Very powerful. Very proud. As if he felt their gaze, Keyleth turned his head. His golden eyes found the three humans at the back of the hall. His perfect lips curled into an expression of disgust. Dohyun met his gaze calmly. He did not look away. He did not challenge. He simply observed. After a long moment, Keyleth turned back to his companions. He said something that made them laugh. Several of them glanced at the humans with amusement. I think we just made an enemy, Yuna muttered. We did nothing, Dohyun said quietly. We exist. For people like him, that is enough. Dohyun did not argue. He knew she was right. He had seen this before, in different forms, in different places. Some people needed someone to hate. Some people needed someone to look down on. He would not give them a reason. He would be quiet. He would be polite. He would do his work and cause no trouble. That was the plan, at least. He did not know yet how badly that plan would fail. 6 weeks passed at the academy. Dohyun fell into a routine. He woke early. He exercised alone in the low-gravity gym, careful to use weights that would not alarm the other students. He attended classes. He studied. He ate meals with Yuna and Yoonji. He went to sleep. The days blended together, quiet and uneventful. His instructors quickly noticed his abilities. In survival training, he moved through obstacle courses that made other cadets collapse from exhaustion. In endurance tests, his heart rate barely changed while others gasped for air. In tactical simulations, he made decisions with a calm focus that impressed even the senior officers. But he held back. Always, he held back. His combat instructor, a scarred old Vorthian named Selax, had pulled him aside after the first week. She had 4 arms and skin like cracked stone. She had fought in 3 wars and trained soldiers for 40 years. I know what you are, she said. Her voice was like gravel. I have seen humans fight. I have seen what you can do when you stop pretending to be soft. Dohyun said nothing. You are holding back. Good. Keep doing that. These children are not ready to see a Deathworlder at full capacity. You would terrify them. You would make enemies. Do you understand? Yes, instructor. Show them just enough to pass. No more. Save your true strength for when it matters. Do-hyun followed her advice. He performed well, but not too well. He won some matches and lost others on purpose. He never showed his real speed, his real power, but someone was watching. Someone noticed that his losses seemed too convenient. Someone grew suspicious and then resentful. Lord Keyleth had never forgotten a human who met his gaze on the first day. In Hellori culture, eye contact from an inferior was a grave insult. The fact that Do-hyun had looked at him calmly, without fear or submission, had burned in Keyleth's mind ever since. He began his campaign slowly. Small things at first. Do-hyun's equipment would go missing before training exercises. His assignments would be accidentally deleted from the system. Rumors began to spread that humans carried diseases, that they were violent and unpredictable, that they should be watched carefully. Do-hyun ignored it all. He reported nothing. He complained to no one. He simply worked around each obstacle and continued his studies. This made Keyleth angrier. The human was supposed to react. He was supposed to fight back, to prove that he was the savage beast the Hellori believed all humans to be. But Do-hyun gave him nothing. He is a coward, Keyleth told his friends. All humans are cowards. They pretend to be dangerous, but they are just animals. Stupid animals. He decided to push harder. One day, Do-hyun arrived at his room to find his belongings thrown on the floor. His clothes were torn. His personal items were broken. Written on the wall in silver paint were the words, "Go home, Deathworlder." Torvin was sitting on his bed, trembling. "I tried to stop them," he whispered. "But there were 5 of them. They said they would hurt me if I told anyone." Do-hyun looked at the destruction. His face showed no emotion. "Are you injured?" "No. But Do-hyun, you have to report this." "This is not right. Reporting will change nothing. The people who did this have powerful families. The Academy will not punish them. Then what will you do?" Do-hyun began to pick up his belongings. "I will clean my room." Yuna was furious when she heard. "This cannot continue. They are targeting you because you will not fight back." "If I fight back, I prove them right," Do-hyun said. "I become the violent human they want me to be." "So you let them walk over you?" "I let them waste their time. They want a reaction. I give them nothing. Eventually, they will get bored." But Keyleth did not get bored. He got worse. The breaking point came 3 weeks later, at a formal dinner to celebrate the Academy's founding anniversary. All cadets were required to attend. They wore their dress uniforms and gathered in the grate, all beneath crystal chandeliers and floating lights. Do-hyun sat with Yuna and Yoonji at a table in the corner. They ate quietly, trying to avoid attention. The food was strange, but acceptable. The music was soft. The night seemed peaceful. Then Keyleth appeared at their table. He was accompanied by 4 other Hellori nobles. They were all smiling. It was not a kind smile. "Look at this," Keyleth said loudly. "The Deathworlders hiding in the corner like the animals they are." Other cadets turned to watch. The hall grew quiet. Do-hyun continued eating. He did not look up. Keyleth leaned closer to Yuna. His golden eyes moved over her body in a way that made her skin crawl. "I have heard that human females are quite durable. Is this true? Perhaps you could demonstrate for me sometime." Yuna's hands clenched into fists. "Step away from me, or what?" Keyleth laughed. "Will you bite me? I hear that is how humans mate. Like animals." His friends laughed with him. The sound was ugly. Eung stood up. "You should leave. Now, the little scientist speaks." Keyleth turned his attention to her. "Tell me, have you studied human breeding habits? I am curious. Do they fight for females like beasts? Do the strong ones claim the weak ones?" Do-hyun put down his fork. Slowly, he stood. The movement was smooth and controlled. He stepped between Keyleth and the two women. "We are leaving," he said quietly. His voice was calm. "There is no need for trouble." He took Yuna's arm gently and began to guide her away from the table. Yunji followed, Keyleth's face twisted with anger. A human dared to turn his back on him? A human dared to walk away from a Halori Lord? He grabbed Dohyun's shoulder and spun him around. Then he shoved him hard in the chest. Then he spat in his face. The entire hall went silent. Dohyun stood perfectly still. The spit ran down his cheek. His dark eyes looked into Keyleth's golden ones. There was no anger in them. No fear. Nothing at all. "Coward," Keyleth hissed. "Pathetic, worthless coward. Your whole species is nothing but dirt. You do not belong here. You do not belong anywhere." Dohyun wiped his face with his sleeve. He took a breath. Then he turned and walked away. Behind him, Keyleth laughed in triumph. "You see?" he announced to the watching crowd. "Humans are cowards. They have no honor. They are too stupid to even defend themselves." Yuna caught up to Dohyun outside the hall. Her face was red with anger. "Why? Why did you let him do that?" Dohyun's voice was flat. "Because I made a promise." "What promise?" "To never hurt anyone here. To never give them a reason to fear us." Yunji joined them, her eyes wet with tears. "But he humiliated you. In front of everyone." Dohyun looked up at the purple sky. His face was empty, but something burned deep in his dark eyes. Something old. Something patient. "Yes," he said softly. He did. He walked away into the night. His friends watched him go. They did not know that something had changed inside him. A line had been drawn. A limit had been reached. The promise still held. But it was cracking. The day after the dinner, the entire academy was talking. The story spread fast. The human had been spat on. The human had done nothing. The human was weak. Keyleth was treated like a hero by his friends. He had proven that humans were cowards. He had shown that the fearsome Deathworlders were nothing but frightened animals who would run for real strength. The Halori nobles celebrated his victory, but others watched with different eyes. Instructor Silax heard the story and said nothing. She simply looked at Dohyun during their next training session with an expression he could not read. Torvin asked him about it that night. "Is it true? He spat on you and you just walked away?" "Yes." "Why?" Dohyun was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. "Because killing him would have caused problems." Torvin's blue skin went pale. He had never heard Dohyun speak like that before. The human's voice was still calm, still quiet. But there was something underneath the words. Something cold. You would have killed him?" "No, I would not have. That is why I walked away." Torvin did not understand, but he was afraid to ask more questions. 3 days later, Keyleth made his next move. It was during the weekly sparring exhibition. All cadets gathered in the main training arena to watch matches between students. It was meant to be educational. Cadets could volunteer to fight, or instructors could select them. Safety protocols were always active. Force fields would stop any blow that might cause serious injury, or so everyone believed. Keyleth stood in the center of the arena. His silver skin glowed under the bright lights. His golden eyes scanned the crowd until they found Dohyun sitting quietly in the back rows. "I challenge Kang Dohyun of Earth," he announced. His voice echoed through the arena. A friendly match. To demonstrate the differences between a civilized species and a Deathworld savage. The crowd murmured. Some looked excited. Others looked worried. A few instructors frowned and whispered to each other. Yuna grabbed Dohyun's arm. "Do not do this. He is setting a trap." "I know. Then refuse. You do not have to accept. If I refuse, he wins. He proves that humans are cowards. He proves everything he has been saying. Yunji leaned in. If you accept and lose, he also wins. And if you accept and hurt him, then I prove that humans are violent. I know. Diane stood up. His face was calm. There is no path where I win, but some paths are worse than others. He walked down to the arena floor. The crowd went silent. Everyone watched the small human approach the tall, elegant Hellori. Keyleth smiled. It was the smile of a hunter who had cornered his prey. I am surprised you came. I thought you would run away again. Dahin said nothing. He took his position on the opposite side of the ring. Instructor Silax stepped forward. She would serve as the match referee. Her stone-like face was impossible to read. This is a standard sparring match. Points are scored by clean strikes. The match ends when one fighter yields, is knocked down for 5 seconds, or when I stop the fight. Safety protocols are active. She paused. Do both fighters understand? I understand, Keyleth said. Yes, Dohyun replied. Begin. Keyleth attacked immediately. His fighting style was beautiful to watch. Hellori martial arts had been developed over thousands of years. Every movement was precise and elegant. He flowed like water, his strikes fast and accurate. He hit Dohyun in the shoulder, in the ribs, in the leg. Each blow was calculated to cause pain, but not serious damage. The safety fields flared with each impact, reducing the force, but the strikes still landed. Dohyun barely defended himself. He blocked a few attacks but made no offensive moves. He simply took it. The crowd began to whisper. Was the human that weak? Could he not fight at all? Keyleth laughed as he landed another blow. Is this all you have? The terrifying Deathworlder? You cannot even raise your hands against me. He kicked Dohyun in the stomach. The human bent over, but did not fall. Fight back, Keyleth demanded. Show everyone what you really are. Show them the beast inside. Dohyun straightened. His breathing was steady. His eyes were empty. Keyleth grew frustrated. This was not working. The human was supposed to snap. He was supposed to reveal his savage nature. But he just stood there like a statue dot. So Keyleth decided to push harder. He stepped close to Dayan. Too close to strike. He spoke quietly, so only the human could hear. But the arena had excellent acoustics. His words carried. After I finish with you, I think I will visit your female friends. Park Yuna, was it? Such a pretty creature. I wonder what sound she will make when I break her. The crowd gasped on in the stands. Yuna's face went pale. Yunji grabbed her hand. Dohyun did not move. Keyleth smiled. Perhaps I will keep her. Humans are durable, yes? She can serve me until she wears out. Then I will find another. Still nothing. Keyleth leaned even closer. His golden eyes were bright with cruel pleasure. I will enjoy breaking your human females. All of them. I will make them scream your name while I, Dayan, moved up. No one saw it clearly. Later, when they reviewed the recordings, they would slow the footage down to 100 speed. They would watch it frame by frame. They would still struggle to understand what they were seeing. One moment, Dohyun was standing still. The next moment, his arm was extended, his palm pressed against Keyleth's face. There was a sound. It was not a slap. It was not a punch. It was something deeper. A crack like thunder. A boom that shook the air itself. Keyleth's body left the ground. He flew backward across the arena. Not falling, flying. His body traveled 12 meters through the air before it hit the far wall. The impact cracked the reinforced material. He slid down and crumpled on the floor like a broken doll. The safety protocols had not activated. The strike was too fast. By the time the fields detected the attack, it was already over. Silence filled the arena. Du Hyun stood in the center of the ring. His arm was still extended. His breathing was normal. His heart rate, as the medical scanners would later confirm, had not increased by a single beat. Then someone screamed. Kayla's face was destroyed. His orbital bones were shattered. His jaw was dislocated and broken in 3 places. His perfect silver skin was split open, leaking pale Halori blood. One of his golden eyes had ruptured from the pressure. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor. Alarms blared. Students shouted and pushed toward the exits. Chaos erupted everywhere, but Dayan did not move. Instructor Silax approached him slowly. She looked at Kayla's broken body. Then she looked at the human. "Cadet Kang," she said quietly. "What did you do?" Do-hyun finally lowered his arm. His voice was empty of emotion. "I stopped holding back." He turned and walked out of the arena. No one tried to stop him. No one dared to get close. Behind him, the surgeons were already calling for emergency transport. Lord Keyleth, son of High Counselor Valeth, pride of the Halori nobility, was carried away on a stretcher. His beautiful face would never be the same again. The surgeons worked for 14 hours. They had to rebuild Lord Keyleth's face from almost nothing. The bones were not just broken. They were shattered into dozens of fragments. The skin was not just torn. It was split apart by force that the medical team could not explain. One eye was beyond saving. The jaw required metal supports to hold it together. Halori medicine was advanced. Their regeneration tanks could heal most injuries within days. But there were limits. Some damage was too severe. Some wounds left scars that no technology could remove. Keyleth would live. He would see again, with one natural eye and one artificial replacement. He would speak again, though his voice would never sound the same. He would walk and breathe and exist. But his face, the pride of Halari nobility, the symbol of his family's genetic perfection, was gone forever. The surgeons did their best. But their best was not enough. While the surgeons worked, the academy descended into chaos. The Halori delegation arrived within hours. High Counselor Valith himself traveled from the homeworld. He was an older version of his son, silver skin and golden eyes, but his face was twisted with rage. "I demand the human's execution," he declared in front of the Academy Council. "He attacked my son without provocation. He nearly killed him. This is an act of war against the Halori people." The Academy Commandant, the ancient Vorthian named Silax, listened calmly. She had seen many angry politicians in her long life. She was not impressed. "There will be an inquiry," she said. "Evidence will be reviewed. Witnesses will testify. Until then, Cadet Kang will be confined to quarters." "Confined to quarters?" Velith's voice rose. "This savage belongs in chains. He belongs in a cell. He belongs dead. He belongs under Academy jurisdiction until the facts are established. That is my decision. It is final." Valeth stormed out, promising consequences. He contacted his allies on the Galactic Council. He demanded emergency sessions. He called for sanctions against Earth and all human colonies, but he was not the only one making calls. 2 days later, a human ship arrived at the Academy. It was a military vessel, sleek and dark, designed for speed and efficiency. It carried a single passenger. Admiral Shin Tai-woo was 60 years old. His hair was gray. His face was weathered. He walked with a slight limp from an old war wound. He wore the simple black uniform of the Earth Defense Force with no decorations, except a small silver star on his collar. He did not look threatening. He did not speak loudly. He did not make demands or throw tantrums. But when he entered a room, everyone felt it. There was something about him, A weight, a pressure. Other species looked at him and felt the same instinct they felt when facing a predator. The urge to run. The urge to hide. He was human. And he had stopped pretending to be soft. The inquiry was held in the main council chamber. All senior academy staff attended. Representatives from the Helari, human, and neutral species were present. Recording devices captured everything for the galactic news networks. The footage from the arena was played first. Everyone watched in silence as Keyleth attacked Do-Yoon again and again. They watched the human take every blow without fighting back. They heard Keyleth's words, clear and unmistakable. "After I finish with you, I think I will visit your female friends. I will enjoy breaking your human females." Several non-Helori delegates looked disgusted. The Helori representatives looked uncomfortable. High Counselor Valith's face was stone. Then they watched the strike. Frame by frame. The impossible speed. The devastating impact. "The safety protocols should have prevented this," one official said. "The protocols have a response time of 3 milliseconds, Silax replied. Cadet Kang's strike was completed in less than 1 millisecond. The system could not react fast enough. That is impossible. No species can move that fast. Admiral Shin spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet and calm. Humans can. Everyone turned to look at him. What you are seeing, he continued, is what happens when a human stops holding back. Cadet Kang spent his entire time at this academy operating at perhaps 20% of his actual capacity. He did this deliberately. He was following instructions to avoid frightening other species. He stood and walked toward the display screen. "Let me show you something." He accessed the Academy's medical database. Do-Hyun's records appeared. Heart rate, brain activity, hormone levels. All recorded during the match. Look at these readings. During the entire fight, including the moment of the strike, Cadet Kang's vital signs remained completely stable. His heart rate did not increase. His adrenaline did not spike. His brain activity showed no signs of anger, fear, or aggression. He turned to face the council. He was in complete control. He chose the exact amount of force to use. He chose to destroy Lord Kalis' face while leaving him alive. If he had wanted to kill him, Lord Keyleth would be dead. If he had used even slightly more force, Lord Kalis' skull would have shattered completely. Silence filled the chamber. This was not an attack of rage, Admiral Shin concluded. This was a calculated response to a direct threat. Lord Keyleth explicitly threatened to assault Cadet Kang's friends. In human culture, this is considered a declaration of intent. Cadet Kang responded proportionally. Proportionally? Valith shouted. He destroyed my son's face. Your son threatened to assault human women. On Earth, such a threat is often met with death. Cadet Kang showed restraint. Witnesses were called next. Park Yuna testified about the months of harassment. Bae Yoonji presented research on human physiology, explaining in scientific terms why Dayan's strike was actually the minimum force necessary to stop the threat. Torvin spoke about the vandalism of Do-Yoon's room. Other cadets came forward with stories of Kaleth's cruelty, his bullying, his abuse of power. The picture that emerged was clear. Lord Keyleth had spent months provoking, harassing, and threatening the human cadets. He had spat in Do-Yoon's face. He had destroyed his property. He had publicly humiliated him. And finally, he had threatened to assault his friends. The inquiry lasted 3 days. At the end, Commandant Silax delivered the verdict. Cadet Kang Dae-yoon acted in response to explicit threats made against fellow cadets. While his use of force was excessive by Academy standards, it was within the bounds of human defensive instincts as documented in galactic medical literature. He will not face criminal charges. Rila's face turned dark with rage. However, Silax continued. Cadet Kang did violate Academy conduct codes regarding appropriate force in sparring matches. He will be placed on probation for the remainder of the academic year. Any further incidents will result in expulsion. She turned her stone-like gaze to the Hellori delegation. Lord Keyleth, when he recovers, will face charges for harassment, destruction of property, and making violent threats against fellow cadets. His noble status does not exempt him from Academy rules. Valeth stood abruptly. This is not over. The Hellori people will not forget this insult. Admiral Shin remained seated. He looked at the High Counselor with calm, dark eyes. Neither will we. The words hung in the air. A promise. A warning. Valeth swept out of the chamber with his delegation. But everyone noticed that he did not look back. He did not meet the Admiral's eyes. Even the most powerful Hellori knew better than to challenge a human directly. Life at the Academy changed after that day. Do-hyun returned to classes after a week of confinement. He walked through the halls as he always had, quiet and calm, his face showing nothing. But everything around him was different. The whispers stopped. The stares stopped. No one moved away from him when he passed. No one avoided his table in the dining hall. Instead, they watched him with a new kind of attention. Not fear exactly. Something else. Respect, wonder, caution. He sat with Yuna and Eunji at lunch. The seats around them, once always empty, began to fill. A Karathi cadet named Belax asked if he could join them. A pair of Velisari students followed. Then a Yenish pilot, a Vorthian engineer, a dozen others. They did not ask about the fight. They did not mention Keyleth. They simply sat nearby, as if being close to the human might teach them something, might give them some of his impossible strength. Torvin became his shadow. The nervous Velisari who had once trembled at the sight of a human now walked beside Do-hyun like a loyal companion. When others asked why, he said simply, "He protected me." When they came to destroy his room, they threatened me. He never blamed me. He never asked me to speak against them. He just cleaned up and continued. In combat training, the other cadets no longer wanted to spar against Do-hyun. Not because they were afraid of being hurt. The opposite. They knew he would hold back. They knew he would never use his real strength against them. And that felt wrong somehow. It felt like asking a master painter to draw stick figures. Instructor Selax pulled him aside one day. "You cannot hide anymore," she said. "They have seen what you are. Pretending to be weak will only insult them now. Then what should I do? Teach them. Show them what humans can do. Not to frighten them, but to inspire them. Every species has its own strengths. Yours is endurance, adaptability, and the ability to push beyond limits. Let them learn from you." Do-hyun considered this. Then he nodded. He began to train openly. In the mornings, he ran laps around the academy grounds at speeds that made other cadets stop and stare. In the gym, he lifted weights that most species could not move with powered equipment. In sparring, he demonstrated human techniques with careful control, showing how Deathworlders moved, how they thought, how they fought. Other cadets began to train with him. They could not match his strength or speed, but they could learn his discipline, his patience, his focus. Slowly, they improved. Slowly, they began to understand. Humans were not monsters. They were not savage beasts. They were survivors. They came from a world that tried to kill them every day, and they had not just survived. They had thrived. They had developed art and music and science. They had reached for the stars. Their strength was not their violence. Their strength was their will. The ability to keep going when everything said they should stop. The ability to endure what could not be endured. Lord Keyleth returned to the academy 4 months later. His face was rebuilt, but the scars remained. A thin silver line ran from his forehead to his jaw. His left eye was artificial, a golden orb that moved slightly slower than the natural one. His jaw worked properly, but made a faint clicking sound when he spoke. He was still beautiful by most standards. The Hellori regeneration technology had done wonders. But he was not perfect anymore. He would never be perfect again. He walked into the dining hall on his first day back. The room went quiet. Everyone watched to see what would happen. Do-yoon was sitting at his usual table with Yuna, Yoonji, and a dozen other cadets of various species. He looked up when Keyleth entered. Their eyes met across the room. Keyleth did not speak. His golden eyes held no hatred, no anger, just emptiness. He turned away and walked to a table in the corner. He sat alone. No one joined him. Even the other Hellori kept their distance. He had learned something about power. Real power. The kind that could destroy a face with a single strike. The kind that chose to hold back for months while being spat on and humiliated. The kind that waited and endured, and then acted with perfect precision when the line was finally crossed. He never spoke to Do-yoon again. He never spoke of humans again. He finished his time at the academy in silence and returned to his homeworld. History did not record what became of him after that. Admiral Shin visited the academy once more before returning to Earth. He found Do-yoon in the training grounds, demonstrating a human combat technique to a group of fascinated cadets. He waited until the lesson was finished. Then he approached. "You have made quite an impression," he said. Do-yoon bowed slightly. "I did not intend to. The best impressions are never intended." The Admiral smiled. It softened his weathered face. "The Galactic Council has been receiving reports. Cadet retention is up. Training scores are improving. Species that never cooperated before are working together. They have a common goal now." "What goal?" "To understand humans. To learn from them. To be ready, just in case." Do-yoon frowned. "Ready for what?" Admiral Shin looked up at the purple sky. His eyes were distant, seeing something beyond the academy, beyond the stars. "We are the new species in this galaxy. The youngest, the least established. They do not know what to make of us yet. Some fear us. Some hate us. Some want to use us. But now, because of you, they also respect us. They know we are not easy prey. They know we can endure. They know we can wait." He looked back at Do-yoon. "You showed them what we really are. What is that, sir?" The Admiral put a hand on his shoulder. The grip was firm but gentle. The hand of a soldier who had seen too much death and learned to treasure life. "Patient," he said. "We are patient. We will wait for them to accept us. We will wait for them to trust us. We will wait for as long as it takes. But if they ever threaten our people, our homes, our families..." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Do-yoon understood. Years later, when historians wrote about the turning point in human-galactic relations, they would mention the Kang incident at the academy. They would describe how a single human cadet demonstrated both the terrifying power and the remarkable restraint of his species. How he changed perceptions. How he opened doors. But Do-yoon never saw himself as a hero. He had simply done what humans had always done. He had survived. He had endured. He had protected his own. That was the lesson of Earth. The lesson written in billions of years of evolution, in millions of years of struggle, in thousands of years of civilization. Life was hard. The universe was cruel. Everything tried to kill you, but humans kept going anyway. They always kept going. And now, among the stars, surrounded by species who were only beginning to understand them, they would keep going still, patient, persistent, unbreakable. Human.